What's up, guys? We are going to be talking about Breaking Bad characters that would and would not support ICE. Let's just get started with the first person on the list, Andrea. I don't think Andrea would support ICE. I think she would be lenient. I think she'd be against ICE. I assume she comes from a family of immigrants. There's not much more to say about her. She doesn't really have enough character substance for me to really go deep into her, so, Badger would be against ICE, or he would be lenient. I don't think he would want any of the so-called aliens to get out. I don't think he would ever... Honestly, no, he would be against ICE because he's a very, how do I say this? He's a very delinquent type character, and because he's already going against rules, like cooking meth, he would not be so with the law enforcement, especially his history with Jimmy McGill, or Better Call Saul. So I think especially from that incident, he'd be like, you know, screw the cops, man. If they go against the cops, so do I. So I think he'd actually be against them. Ted Beneke, I think he'd be, just by looking at him, I don't know. The type of person that he is very interesting. He's kind of bitter, especially towards Skyler because of the whole relationship thing. I think he would be neutral. I don't think he'd want to get his hands into all that because at the end of the day, he's just a regular family man trying to do his stuff. Yeah. That's all I have to say for Ted. I don't think anybody likes Ted. I think Gale would be very lenient. He seems like a very free spirit, a very oddball, he might be neurodivergent. He's a character, so I think he's a very loose spaghetti string. I imagine people who are very, by the book to be kind of up the ass as well, and I think he's a chill guy, and I think he wouldn't really care that much if he's driving on the road to the laundromat and he sees an illegal immigrant, he'd be like, oh well, it doesn't affect me. And besides, he works at a laundromat full of immigrants and South Americans, and he stays zipped. So I think he'd be lenient. I don't think he would be against ICE. I don't think he'd be going to protests, but he does seem like a very freedom-oriented human. Huel, I think most of the characters on the criminal side of this show would be against ICE, or at least not support them, just because they know they're breaking laws, so they're thinking, why should I be supporting a law enforcement group? I think Huel would definitely be lenient, this big bowling ball of a human being. Marco and Lionel. I think Marco and Lionel absolutely would be against ICE, but they wouldn't get their hands too dirty. But I can see them killing some officers. I think they would be a possible threat to ICE. I think a lot of the Salamancas on this list would be a threat to ICE, even though they try to lay low. And we have to assume they all have citizenship, just so they can do their operations a lot cleaner and there's a lot less mess. But yeah, I think Marco and Lionel, they probably killed some officers in their time. Jane, absolutely against ICE. I can see her at a protest already. Yeah, she's one of those people that go to protests and stand outside and throw water balloons at officers and spray paint their cars and maybe even interfere. She's probably one of those people that interfere with their operations. I'm not saying you should do that. Don't interfere with their operations even if you disagree with them. I disagree with the way they handle people, but don't step in front of them and their so-called targets. That's just stupid. It's just stupid. It's dangerous. You're gonna get shot. And I think Jane would be one of those. Skinny Pete against ICE. I don't think Skinny Pete and Badger are the same type of character. I think they're very different. I think that Skinny Pete can get his hands a little more dirty than Badger, just because of the writing of their characters and just the way they look. They look like bums, which is fine. I'm not insulting them, but I think Skinny Pete would be like, yo, I got some Mexican friends. They make me food. Go away. Merkert? I think his name is Merkert. Yeah, get the F out. Get the F out. Merkert, he's the head of the DEA. He would not tolerate a single Guatemalan, a single Ecuadorian. Get the F out. No way. Merkert, he don't tolerate that stuff. And I respect him because that's his job and that's his position. He works for the DEA, not ICE. Let's just get that straight. But if there was a situation where he knew that there were illegal immigrants working somewhere, he'd probably call his friend over at ICE and be like, yo, we got them over here. Gomi and Hank. Hank's get the F out. Completely. If not pro-ICE, but he is get the F out. If we know Hank's character, we know the type of person he is. Like, he makes jokes about Mexicans eating tacos and fixing houses and mowing lawns and piñatas and stuff like that. He's a good guy. Hank is a good guy, but if he could, he would deport them. If he could do citizen's arrest. If he didn't work for the DEA, he'd be working at ICE. Let me just say that. We all know the type of person he is. He wouldn't tolerate that. He'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Gomi? I'm gonna say he's pro-ICE. Even though he is a generation down from immigrants, we can assume, he's still part of law enforcement, and I can tell that he holds his principles over his personal feelings. So if he actually was at a rally and he saw an officer manhandle an immigrant into the truck, he probably wouldn't like it, but he can't go against it. He wouldn't hate it either. He'd be like, well, I got in. Why can't they get in the right way? So I think he'd be going along with Hank like, listen, at the end of the day, I got a friend that makes racist jokes, but at the end of the day, it's my job, and I hold my duty responsibly. So I think Gomi would be pro. I don't think as extreme as Hank. I think Hank actually has kind of a bitterness. We don't see it a lot, but you can tell just from dialogue. Jesse against ICE completely. I can just see him at a rally being like, yo, just like for the fun of it, and he'd probably do it for the fun of it too. If not, I'd say lenient. I'm gonna say lenient because I just don't think I think Jesse's very emotional, and so he would get emotionally attached. So if Jesse had a friend that was an illegal immigrant, then he'd absolutely be against ICE. But he doesn't really have any illegal friends, I should say. He's very emotional. I can just see him having sympathy, especially for children. There's a lot of children that get separated from their parents because of the officers that, grab their parents or just make them abandon their kid. And I think Jesse does have a good heart, and so he would feel for those kids, and he'd probably cry. He'd probably cry at a protest. I think Jesse cries around 230 something times in Breaking Bad. I don't think that's true. I just saw it on the like a ChatGPT answer. Lydia, Lydia's pro. I can already tell Lydia's pro. Lydia would work with them if she had to. I know that Lydia probably worked with some in her life, but she's just like, oh my god, bro, get these people. They don't smell as good as me. They don't smell as good as me. Where is my stevia? I need my tea. She would be very bitchy. I think she's a Karen. She'd be pro-ICE. Maybe not get the F out, but she's very slimy and slippery, and she doesn't stand for anything. She has no morals. She has no ground to stand on, really. She'll weasel on you the moment she can, so I have nothing good to say about Lydia. Oh, get the F out. For sure, Marie Schrader, just like her husband, get the F out. If you don't know Marie, she's very skittish, very judgmental. She's a snob. The hospital scene, I will never forget. They're eating and Marie thinks there's stains on the forks, and she's like, ugh, hospital people. I'm gonna get jaundice. Am I gonna get jaundice from eating out of this fork? Does it have syphilis? What about the remnants of, the herpes? Because they put it in their mouth, and some of these guys have STDs. I might get herpes. Like, she's very weird. She's very odd. She steals, and she's just looks down at other people, I should say. She looks down at other people. I don't like that. But everything else, she's a good person. But besides that, get the F out. Mike, neutral. And I say neutral for one reason. Mike is a former cop. So you can assume during his time as a cop, he was law enforcement, so he would most likely be on the side of ICE. Nowadays, he's a criminal, and he doesn't like dirty cops, and a lot of ICE officers are dirty, so he would be neutral. I don't think he would be lenient or against ICE, because Mike can be up to you-know-what. He's a stickler. He's an old man. He's a baby boomer. A lot of these baby boomers, they don't play around. I got customers at my job, baby boomers. They'll use the same gift card. They will not get a new gift card. They recharge their gift card because they like the artwork on the back. These guys don't like change. They want you to be a straight arrow, or you'll get smacked by a ruler, because in their day, they used to get hit in their freaking Catholic school. Jimmy McGill, very lenient. I say this because he's a criminal lawyer, but he's also a criminal lawyer. He never changes. He's a scammer. He likes to scheme. He lies. He has a very weird, I don't want to say victim mindset, but a very, mindset. So I'd say he's very lenient towards them because he sympathizes with the little guy. He's going to be on the side of the little guy. He doesn't really want to, he doesn't like barriers, doesn't like regulations, he doesn't like authority at all. He actually hates authority, I can just tell. And he just doesn't like the rules at all. So if he was to pick between someone that follows the rules and someone that doesn't, he's going to go with the people that don't. Gus Fring, this is interesting. So you'd think that Gus would be against ICE because he's actually an immigrant himself. However, Gus's number one job in this show is to maintain normalcy. He needs to blend in. He needs to seem very palatable. He has donated to fundraisers. He has supported law enforcement. He's donated to fire stations. He's been to the DEA office multiple times, shook hands with Merkert, kind of blended in. So for him to maintain his image, he needs to be pro-ICE. I think he'd be neutral, maybe even lenient, but you never see this guy at an anti-ICE protest. He'd probably be pro-ICE just to blend in. He doesn't want to do all this extra stuff, okay? He just wants to sell meth, get revenge, and that's it. Skyler White, ooh, this is tough. This is tough. Just by this picture, she could go any way. She could literally be against ICE and for ICE at the same time. It's hard to tell. Skyler has employees at the freaking car wash who are immigrants, and she tolerates them just fine. She's not saying, you gotta get out of here. You did not show me your papers. You just waltzed through the desert and hopped over the fence. I'm gonna say neutral. Yeah. I'll say lenient, I guess. I don't think she's against ICE either, though. Hector Salamanca, absolutely against ICE. I'd say absolutely. Because here's the thing, right? Hector's not a good person. But we all were on Hector's side when he rolled into the DEA and told Hank to suck his dick and fuck himself, right? Didn't he say that? Or fuck, he said, he did the ding 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 with a Ouija board. And they used a Ouija board. And then they wrote down F you to Hank. He shat on Hank's floor. Their office in the, interrogation room. So really, he gives the finger to all authority. He just wants to run his operations and he only cares about family. But I also don't think he's sympathetic. He doesn't have that inside of him. He only cares about him and his family at the end of the day, which is respectable. Caring about family is all you really should do in this life. But, he's not going to be for a freaking organization that's capturing people and sending them back home. He's not going to be for that at all. I will say, though, because we don't like Hector, if he wasn't an immigrant and he was born in the United States, he would probably be neutral or pro-ICE because he doesn't have that empathy inside of him. He could care less. Todd Alquist, Todd would be neutral or pro-ICE. I don't think he'd be get the F out. Yeah, Todd would be neutral because he really just cares about making friends. He's like a puppy dog. He just wants to have fun. He's a horrible human being, yeah, but he's a natural human, really. If you think about it, he doesn't care about all of this political stuff. He just wants to live his life. That's it, really. He's a very exploration-oriented human being, so let him be. He's neutral. Tuco, fuck ICE. Yeah, Tuco, not lenient at all. He would actually go to one of the stations and shoot up the place, I think. I mean it. He would pull an entire GTA cutscene on ICE headquarters. Just crash his car through the wall. Just kill all of them, I think. He's nuts. Remember when freaking the skateboarders insulted his abuela, his sweet little abuelita? Imagine if ICE came in and tried to deport little abuelita Salamanca. Oh my god, it is over. R.I.P. GG. Tyrus? Oh, that's tough. I think he'd be neutral. Nah, he's pro-ICE. He's pro-ICE because he sent those poor ladies back to Honduras on a bus. Yeah, he's pro-ICE. Screw you, Tyrus. Have some backbone, my friend. Working over bullshit. Working for Gus. My boss told me I have to do it. Sacrificing your life for your boss. Your autistic, closeted boss. Come on now. Have some balls and make your own decisions. You have literally no character. You're just a minion. That's it. Walter Jr., very lenient. Nah, I think he'd be brainwashed by school. He's gonna be neutral. He doesn't care about this geopolitical, social stuff. He just wants to live his life and eat bacon. He doesn't care about all of that crap. I feel like he would dissociate from all of the freaking drama on the news. He wouldn't even watch news. Yeah, he wouldn't even care. He's a natural human. Walter White is Walter White's lenient. He's lenient. Especially at the beginning of the story, he doesn't care. Like, he wouldn't care if there's illegal immigrants working at his car wash. He doesn't care. Thing is, Walter White, his morals are very odd. Because if something does benefit him, he will try to act on that whether or not it hurts other people. And for a lot of people, illegal immigration doesn't affect us at all. Alright, I live in Connecticut. If some random dude did jumping jacks over the freaking wall, bunny hopped over the wall, got a pogo stick, boing boing, and pogoed over the wall, the second he hits the American soil, I'm not gonna get a boner. Like, it's not gonna affect me. So, yeah. That's all I gotta say. Jack, Uncle Jack, get the F out. Get the F out. Yeah, Uncle Jack, he ain't tolerating that bullshit. He'd freaking do his salute, get the pencil, put a little mustache on. Volkswagen. He'd go nuts on these guys. What are we talking about? Do I smell rice and beans? He'd be crashing out on these guys. No way. And it's racial too. It's racial. If there were Canadians going from Alberta into like Montana, he wouldn't care. He could let all the Canadians come in. If there's Europeans coming in, he'd be like, fine. But once he gets on that bus and he looks at the back row and sees the back row skin colors, he's like, no, you gotta go home. Nacho Varga, very against ICE. Let's be honest now. His dad's an immigrant. We can already tell. Yeah, he'd be like, you're gonna bring my dad to his old town in Guadalajara? Michoacan? No way. Oh, Chuck. Yeah, Chuck's get the F out. Or he's pro-ICE. I'll say he's pro-ICE. It's not personal, you know. It's just the law. You gotta follow the law. I would not want to be Chuck's brother. I don't blame Jimmy for not liking his brother. Or, yeah. He didn't like his brother. How would he like his brother? Chuck is actually 9 feet up the ass. Like, he is such a stickler. He is by the book. He is the book. In fact, he wrote the book, I bet. This guy, I can already tell if he was traveling and he drove by the wall and he saw somebody put their hands like this against the bars, he'd be like, oh my gosh, are your fingers on American soil without your papers? And then he'd call the cops. It needs to be by the book. It needs to be by the book. Who's that? He needs to be by the book. You're crossing the border. Your shoelaces, the string, I can see it. It's on American soil. Bro, I keep seeing elephant goblins. Like, that's the type of person Chuck is. Better fuck Chuck. Kim Wexler, she's neutral. Let's be honest now. She believes in revolution. She believes in helping out the little guy. And also she likes mischief, especially with Jimmy, because we all know what she says. You and I are poison. She says that to Jimmy. Howard Hamlin, pro-ICE. I'd say he's pro-ICE. I think if you don't follow the law, if you don't wear a suit and tie, if you have stains on you, if you have bad presentation, you need to go. I bet if there were two illegal immigrants working on a property and they were both sitting on benches and one of them was sitting nice and straight and the other one was slouching, he'd be like, that sloucher is illegal. That man, I know he's born and raised. Like, he wants you to be presentable. So I think if you're an illegal immigrant but you wore nice clothes, you smelled nice, he'd probably not even think you're illegal. But once you get those stains and you smell like shit and you have bags under your eyes and you say no habla inglés, he's gonna be like, get out. Finally, Lalo Salamanca. I'm gonna make a separate video talking about how Lalo would evade ICE. I think Lalo Salamanca would definitely be against ICE. Yeah, he'd definitely be against ICE. I think he'd actually be a fugitive. He'd be on ICE's top 10 most wanted fugitives. Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. He's a different breed than the rest of his family members. Tuco would be trying to save Abuela, breaking into an office. Marco and Leonel would be doing hits on certain officers. Hector would be starting a war with ICE. And then we got freaking Lalo Salamanca, who is just freaking road running. I think he would be an absolute ICE road runner. There would be nationwide manhunts. He'd be a serial border crosser. He's a serial border crosser. Not even coyotes are gonna go near him. He can't even get saved by a coyote because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting the one and only Eduardo. I'm gonna make a separate video on him just about how it would theoretically go if there was a manhunt and what him and his family would do if they were getting targeted by ICE. I think that would be a fun video. But guys, I hope that this offered some sort of internet value. Have a great night.